returns to me. It returns to me. It returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me, and it returns to me. It returns to me. It returns to me. It returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea.
I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me. Yes, it returns to me. It returns to me. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Universal Spirit Center and to this beautiful Awakening Wednesday. What a great day it was today. All that beautiful sunshine. Ooh, was fantastic. I loved it, and thank you for being here as we begin this new journey together. I'm looking forward to seeing you expand and grow with us and hear all of your wonderful wisdom and knowledge. And in just a little while, I'll bring Selina on. But before that, I got to tell you all the fantastic things that are going on here at Universal Spirit Center. So for those of you that know the great Margot Alora, the third Saturday with the Angels is coming up this Saturday. She hosted at her home. If you have questions, info@universalspiritcenter.org, and they can give you directions. She's a wonderful medium and light and love. Also, coming up is our official membership class. For those that are not members to Universal Spirit Center, I love how everybody's like taking off their shoes. This grounding, I love that. That's fantastic. And also, this is really a treat. Reverend Dr. Guy Williams is hosting a class, New Thought for the 21st Century. It begins April the 29th. If you've ever experienced him, he's a man with so much wisdom and knowledge. Just walking past him, it oozes into you. He's quite amazing. And this Sunday, we are so loved with Reverend Kevin. We are so loved, and I'm blessed to be the musical inspiration this coming Sunday. And so, with that, I want us to get ready for this amazing woman that I just had the pleasure of meeting about a month ago through another dear friend of mine that knew my love for frequency, for energy, for raising the vibration and understanding how important that is for us to shift into this new dynamic in our life, to be able to enhance our lives in such a unique and magnificent way, and recognizing that that power and control comes from within us. And so I got a message from Selina, and she has a new book out called Transform Your Life. Actually, I think it comes out in July. I think it's released in July. But transform your life through changing your frequency. And I'm going to let her tell you more about it, but I'm very, very, very excited to create this series with her that will happen every second Wednesday of the month. So once a month, she will be here virtually, sharing pearls of wisdom, setting us into a new vibrational tone, and opening our energy up to connect into a much deeper and more awareness of who and what we are in our lives. So, without further ado, let me bring on Selina Maitreya. Welcome, Selina.
Well, hi there, Gino. It's great to be here with everybody.
It's so awesome to have you here. And now, Selina lives on the East Coast.
In Boston.
Yes, Boston.
It's 9:30 here, everybody. You're having dinner. People are going to sleep.
So Selena really took the time to create this amazing journey for us to step by step really understand more about vibration, frequency, energy, and to guide us through this pathway that opens us up to a much greater expression. And tonight it's about who are we? Who are you? Which is always a wonderful question to ask yourself. Who am I? I won't get into what am I and where am I, but who are you? So with that, Selena, I'm going to let you take it over and describe some of what the series is about.
Well, thanks, Gino. Um, you did a beautiful job and you gave us a wonderful introduction to the idea that we have choice in our life and we have choice as to how we move through the experiences of our life. So this series that Gino and I put together, and it really was a joint effort. So I wanna shout out to Gino because it's wonderful to have a collaborator. The purpose of this program is to provide you with teachings and practices that you can use in between our meetings so that you can take the information that we share and as you move through your life, you can begin to become aware of how you are responding in your life, where your frequency is at any moment. And we're going to be providing you with practices that you can use as you go through your daily life to shift your frequency when you notice that you're working from a lower vibration, when your thoughts are negative, when your emotions are not high, they're not open and expansive. And the idea is for you as you go through this program to take the information into your daily life and actually use the practices so moment to moment you can be shifting your frequency into higher vibration. Because what I've discovered and what I teach and the reality that I understand is that as we become more conscious and more aware of how we are in our life, more opportunity then to shift our frequency. But we have to be able to witness as we be. be aware of what our frequency is, and then we have to choose, and it's always a choice, to shift the frequency with the practices that we'll be sharing. Is that good, Gino? Is that a fairly concise idea of what we're doing?
I think that's fantastic, and
Great.
I'm excited to just jump into it. So I know that you wanted to open with the breath work.
Yes, I wanted to open with what I call the breath of life. So I want to share with you that all of this information doesn't come from my brain. I'm a channel, and Source started channeling through me 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. And this was one of the first practices that they gave me to share with you, to share with students. And I love it. They told me that the breath is the physical manifestation of the soul. So sit with that for a minute. The breath is literally the physical manifestation of our soul. It's the first aspect of our totality that comes into the body when we're born, when we come out of the womb and into this third dimensional reality. The first thing we do is take a breath. And the last thing we do is take a breath. And so the breath is the physical manifestation of the soul. So when we invoke the breath, we're coming into communion and connection with what I would call our highest intelligence. So what I'd love to do is to start each of our gatherings with 5 minutes. And during that time, I'm going to guide you, as we will now, to just close your eyes. So if you join me, just close your eyes. Because the act of closing your eyes is utilizing your free will to choose to leave the third dimensional reality and turn your gaze inward. So close your eyes and relax your body wherever you are. Hopefully you're not driving. And invoke the breath of life, which means you are actually breathing in and out of your nose with your mouth closed, and you're taking very long, very deep breaths in and out of the nose, making it easeful. Not a struggle, it's easeful. And the last piece is I'd invite you to place your attention on the breath and just continue to breathe this way, not trying to control your thoughts. Just allow them, if they come and go, to do so, like the waves come into the ocean and go out again. Your thoughts don't need your attention or direction. Your attention is completely on the breath. And just stay here until I bring you out, and enjoy. Now, if you would, begin to invoke the breath of life actively, putting your attention once again on the breath as it comes in and out of the nose. And as you exhale, very calmly and easefully bring your consciousness back into the body more and more with every breath you take, with every exhale breath, until you can flutter your eyelashes and wiggle your fingers and toes, coming back into the room, back into your body, and back into the teaching. Gino, let me know when you're back.
Back. That was yummy.
Yeah, well, the beauty of the breath of life is that our breath costs us nothing but our willingness to engage, and it's always with us. So while breath work can get very involved and is absolutely exquisite and helpful in so many ways, a practice like this can take us from a state of agitation or irritation right into calm in 5 minutes. So we did not check in this evening on how we were before we started this process. I just wanted to take us right into it. But as we start each meeting, I'm going to ask you, just take a moment. Where are you now? Did you rush to come to this teaching? Or are you very calm? Have you had a crazy kind of day? Or was it easy? And then you're going to do the breath practice. And then we're going to notice again. So you can just take a moment now and just notice what your state is. Are you feeling more calm? You feeling easeful? And just notice. Because this practice is one of the most, it's the easiest, accessible practices that you can use to completely transform your emotional state and to slow down your mind. Gino, I'll share with you and everyone here that when my book was sent to Inner Traditions, I had an intro call with the acquisitions editor, a lovely man named John. And the acquisitions editor is the person that you speak to who decides whether they're going to take your book or not. And we had a great conversation. I felt like I was talking to an old friend, and I directed him to this practice. He said, "What should I be reading? What do you think is helpful?" And I sent him a couple of sections, and then I said, "Do this practice when you're feeling agitated." And they took the book 3 days later. And when I asked John why, he said, I've been a Buddhist for 30 years. I've been working at this company for 35 years. He said, many authors make promises that they just don't deliver. He said, but I did your breath of life because even as a Buddhist, I have monkey mind that I just can't get rid of. He said, but I took the practice, the breath of life, and it was gone. So it's a very valuable and helpful practice to take on. Yeah, certainly got me a book deal, and it helped John with his monkey mind. So use this practice if you're out of sorts, if you're irritable, if you need to bring yourself back to neutrality. It's a beautiful practice. And as we start, Gino,
Yes.
we're all in the same place now because we've come, we're different people, different personalities, different histories. We've had lots of different things that happen through the day. But when we take 5 minutes to go to breath, we're connecting to the higher frequency of love that we are. And that is the one commonality that everyone has. So when we all go to that space, we start this session from the very same place.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
love simple practices that you can do quickly. Tapping is kind of like that, where it's something that I can be driving and be out of sorts and pull my car over and do 5 minutes of tapping and get back in alignment. And so now this, I will add this breath of life because I love that. It is the breath that we take in the beginning and it is the breath we take when we leave. That's super powerful. So that's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Wonderful. And I think also, one of the things I notice when students come to me is I notice how they breathe. And most people, when they come, are breathing in a very shallow, fast pace. And that doesn't allow us to respond to life. When we're rushing through life with all of the demands we have, when we're multitasking, our breath is so representative of our state. So when we're rushing so quickly and moving from one thing to another, our breath is going to be very shallow and very fast. And that sets the tempo for our thinking mind. It sets the tempo for our emotional body. And it also doesn't allow us to access our high frequency because we are in other aspects of our being, which we'll be talking about tonight. So the breath how you breathe is such an indication of where you are. Are you in your thoughts and emotions, or
Mm,
are you in your highest knowing?
well said. Well said.
Yeah. So as we begin tonight, Gino, we were talking about sharing with everybody the purpose of this program and starting out with who are you? So the purpose of the program is to help you, to empower you, to use all daily irritations, difficulties, struggles, even any traumatic events that occur as opportunities to respond to them from love.
Mm,
Because when we respond from love, we're invoking our highest knowing. And most of the time now, we're in a conditioned response where when difficulty arises, we respond with the same frequency that arrived, which means when someone cuts us off on the road, most people aren't sending them off with blessings and hoping they slow down and drive safely. Most people are giving them the finger, they're shouting because they're startled, they're in fear. So with this work, we learn how to respond to any piece of difficulty in daily life from love, because when we respond from love, we become that. And love has many faces to it. It looks like kindness. It looks like patience. It looks like tolerance and compassion and gratitude and grace and understanding. The Kabbalists say there's 72 names of God, 72
mm,
faces, right? And every face, every name for God is actually an attribute, a quality. So with this work, the hope is to teach you how to recognize where you are as you move through your day, and then provide you with practices that actually help you to change your state. Because it's one thing to talk about responding to difficulty from love, but we want to provide you with the actual tools to do so. So each month, we're going to be coming with a different teaching and different practices for you.
You know, that is super powerful because I just went through a little something that a lot of times, when you're immersed in a situation, like you said, you either flight or fight or anger comes about. And to be able to just slow the self down, to slow the mind down, to have something that's the first thing you go for instead of going for the response immediately or instead of wanting to fix it. I learned for myself that trying to jump into fixing things so quickly takes me out of the solution, that I'm creating more of a runaround circle, that it takes longer for the process to actually have the easiest and best solution. So, I love that Selena has come up with practices that you can actually take from here and utilize and really start to participate, because it's great having the word knowledge, but when you have a physical thing that you can call on and that you can do, I think that strengthens everything, because you see it respond in your life.
I agree. And I think also for most people, it's not coming up even with a better solution because we are trained and conditioned to respond to difficulty from low frequency. Because
Yes.
difficulty lands, and that's the response, is to respond back with the same frequency. It becomes a conscious response to do what you were saying and what we're teaching here, which is to stop and to take a breath, perhaps, and know that you have choice in your response. Because, I love the work and the writing of Viktor Frankl, who was a Nobel Prize winner and the gentleman who wrote so many books on his experience of living through the Holocaust. And he talks about how even when we seem to feel we have no choice in our circumstances, we always have the choice of our response. And as conscious people, as people who gather and come to this church to learn how to walk in our life as conscious people, and that's what it is. It's not just when we go on the mat to meditate or to do yoga. It's really what happens when we come off the mat. How
Hmm.
are we in our daily life? And we're learning here to override the conditioned response of responding to difficulty with more of the same. Somebody cuts you off, you give them the finger. You're standing in the grocery store and you've rushed in because you've got a few minutes to get what you need for dinner, and you've got two things, and you're on the 8 items or less line, and somebody's in front of you with a basket full, and it's like one thing, one thing, and you find yourself just having your temperature rise, and you're just getting more and more aggravated. And that's a very common response because it's fear. So we're learning in this process to recognize when we're in fear and to change our frequency with our response so that we can have a conscious response, which is obviously, from the energy of love. And what does that do? Why do we do this? Because we want to walk the talk of being conscious people. We want to add to the higher frequency in our own local world and in the net of oneness. Not only just our community, but in the net of oneness, which is larger than we could ever hope to imagine. So we become very responsible citizens, not only to ourselves and our neighbors, but to people we'll never know.
So, with that being said, how is it that our frequencies are working in and through our everyday, all that we do? How is it that
Well,
this, go ahead.
everything we project goes into the field of oneness. So every time we have a thought or an action, there's a vibration attached. And that vibration automatically goes into the field. The field is made up of vibration, and we're all responsible for our piece of that.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we have the opportunity then to choose. How will we be? And that's what this work is all about. Because ultimately, we want to go from being guided, which is now the way most people are guided. They're guided from their ego, their pain body, and their thinking mind, and their emotional body. And if they're fortunate, And if they've done a lot of work, as most people or many people on this call and in the church have done, they're working from a higher vibration. But for most people, that higher vibration needs to be accessed, and it's a choice to go there because now their thinking mind, their ego, and their emotional body are running the show. And all of this work is meant to completely shift that paradigm. So ultimately, you want to be able to be acquainted and access your highest knowing, your soul level, as a response to difficulty. And when that happens, the ego becomes an organizing tool. The brain also becomes a tool to set things in motion once the guidance has come in, and the emotional body is an alert system instead of the landing pad it is for most people, and lets us know when we're out of alignment with our highest knowing. So we're looking to switch the paradigm of where people are now. Takes a while, might take us all year to do that, but that's the primary purpose of this work, is to be able to
We
be
have a,
guided by our highest knowing.
Selena, we have a question.
Yeah, good.
You know, okay, yeah. So he's asking, can you elaborate on what that highest knowing is? He's not sure what that
Yes,
means, what the highest
that's our
knowing is.
soul level. Yep, our highest knowing is our soul level. I call it our intuitive body. So you know you've had moments of inspiration. You've experienced what we call synchronicities. Well, those are glimpses of the intuitive body, the highest knowing, the soul level within you. And what we do with this work is we teach you how to access that highest knowing during these difficult moments through the practices we're going to be sharing, so that you can, as you access and turn to love, you become that frequency. And the more and more you engage that frequency, the more your personal vibration grows. And we find that some of the people and situations that in the beginning when we started this work really bothered us, over time they don't bother us at all. So that phrase refers to the soul level, the highest knowing, the intuitive body. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, yes. So I have a question too. A lot of times I feel that when people talk about the ego is talked about in a way that it's a bad thing or it doesn't serve us. And me personally, I believe that it's a part of me. So
Mhm.
it has a purpose. What do you speak to that in regards to the ego and how it plays within our frequencies?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We need all aspects of us. And I think that brings us beautifully into discussing who are we in terms of the fact that most of the time we refer to ourselves as me or I, but we're really a multi-dimensionality experience. I think the ego is extremely important because there are times we need to be alerted. You're standing on the side of a busy street on the sidewalk, and you're distracted and you start to move into the street. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, I didn't look left and right. Is there a car coming? That's your ego, your fear, the fear body, the pain body is coming in, and you jump back onto the sidewalk. So there are times we need that alert system, we need that fear, but we don't need it as much as we access it. So this work isn't to get rid of the ego or get rid of the emotional body or disregard our emotions. No, it's to learn how to use them in a very different way so that the highest knowing, our soul level, becomes our guidance system, our daily GPS. And our emotional body becomes an alert system. We learn through this work that when we have emotions that are difficult, we notice it, we turn to the divine within us and ask, what am I to learn from this? And what frequency of love do I want to overshadow my being with so that I can go back to neutrality? So what we're doing here, Gino, is we're just restructuring each of the elements of who we are that we're about to go into in a very different way so that we're aligned with love instead of being aligned with fear. We hear about that all the time, but there aren't practices that are given to us to teach us how to do that, which is why you and I thought this would be so important to bring to the community.
I love that. I love that. So, what on this journey as we start to step into this, where would you take us on this first step
Yeah.
into that process?
Well, thank you. I want to introduce you to your multidimensionality because if you think of yourself as one dimension, there's nothing to shift. It's hard to know what piece of you is activated at that time. But if you can think of yourself as the multidimensional person life stream that you are, then you're able to check in and say, well, what aspect of me is activated right now? And if that's not serving me, what aspect of me do I choose to activate? And then you'll have a practice to do so. So with that in mind, let's talk about the fact that this shift in how we move in the 3D world enables our guidance to come from the divine, not from the ego. And as we take on this work, we become more loving, we become more open, we become more curious, and we become less reactive, which allows us to be in flow. And ultimately, we're working in a very high vibration consistently so that we can manifest and be at a frequency where we can hold what we're manifesting, right? So let's talk about our multidimensionality, and some aspects of who we are not going to be at all surprising to you, but let's look at them as different aspects. So I call this Selina a life stream. So my life stream includes my physicality, my physical body. It includes my physical brain. It also includes my emotional body, which is a field of its own, and my intellectual body, my thinking abilities. I have a personality, another aspect of my multidimensionality that I've developed in this iteration of my life. And I have a history in this body. So those are different aspects of my life stream, but then we have vibrational aspects. And for this teaching, we're going to describe them as low frequency and high. So my awareness, my consciousness, the energy of love within me is the highest frequency of all. That's my soul level, my intuitive body. Excuse me. The low frequency is the ego, the pain body, fear that's fueled by negative thoughts and negative emotions. So we have the opportunity to remember and to move through the world knowing that we are all of these different aspects, and we get to choose to activate them at any time. We're already doing that. We just don't look at it that way or experience the different multidimensionality aspects of who we are. We go from thinking thoughts that are positive to thinking thoughts that are negative. We have a warmth in our heart, and the next minute we might be startled by something. So we're always jumping in and out of these different aspects, but now what do we want to do? We want to become conscious of them, because this enables us over time to learn how to watch as we move through the world. Instead of just moving through life and just doing, we ultimately learn how to cultivate the act of actually witnessing as we be, which means to watch our state. How am I doing throughout the day? And when we cultivate that, which takes time and commitment and willingness and action, but when we are able to do that, then we can switch from state to state, because then we have an awareness of where we are, and we can notice when we're out of alignment with the energy of love, and we can use a practice to shift us back. So the idea is just for tonight to just think of yourself, to have the experience beyond thought that you are a multidimensional being and that you have the choice to choose which part of your multidimensionality you're going to move forward with at any time. So how does that sound, Gino? Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So we're becoming conscious, right? Conscious of ourselves.
It reminds me. Some years ago, I on my phone I would set a timer to do affirmations, but it made me be aware of checking out of the moment and taking this time to shift into a different consciousness. And so now that you talk about the multidimensional being, it's like I never thought of it like that. But anybody ever experienced that where you're happy in one moment and then you're angry in another? You know, I remember Abraham saying that you can't love your child and be angry at them at the same time. It's impossible. You will still love them, but in that moment, you're angry. You're angry with them about whatever it is. Um, that's pretty cool to start recognizing that, because I know I'm not the only one. You feel throughout the day we shift multiple of times. You know, sometimes you sit in meditation, it's great, it's fine, and then you get that phone call. And it's out the window. A lot of that peace and calm leaves you and you're into something else.
And I can talk to that very clearly, because years ago, before I achieved a certain level of evenness, I'll say, and calm, probably about 20 years ago or so, I had already been doing a lot of meditation, but I hadn't embodied this work. I wasn't doing the practices that we're talking about now. I was too new a student to do them at that point. And so all I did at that point was meditate. And I had a very busy life, and I was a single parent of 2 kids. And a perfect example of what you just said. I remembered I had a room in my house that was my office, and my kids were little, 2 boys. Maybe they were 7 and 9, no, like 3 and 5. I think they were around 3 and 5. And their playroom was right outside my meditation room. So one day I said, listen, guys, I'm going to go in and meditate for 20 minutes. Can you do quiet things so that I'm not disturbed? And they were like, oh, no problem, Mama, no problem. And so I went in and I started to go into meditation, and the next thing I know, there's lots of noise and bodies are falling into my door, and they're laughing and having a good time. And so I just collected myself and I came out of the state and I opened my door and I said, listen, what happened to your commitment? You were going to be quiet. Oh, so sorry, Mama. So sorry. We're going to be quiet. So once again, they go and start off quietly. I go back into meditation. I am starting to get really deep. And the next thing I know, there's this crash into the door and all of this laughter. And I immediately go from this very deep place to being this screaming hyena. And I jump out of my seat and I open the door and I let them have it. And I was like, what happened? And they were like looking at me like, where is our mother? And I'm like, yeah, where is she? Because I went like within a nanosecond from being deep into meditation to being a very unkind mother.
Mm.
So when we're not in a place where our vibration is high enough consistently, we're always going to be visiting back and forth.
I like
And the
that. Can I
way
just
that,
say,
yes,
that
please,
again? Because when you
yes,
do keep your frequency at a higher rate, I don't
right,
think you drop so
consistently,
low. Yeah, and it is. That's the main thing. Consistent practice of a high frequency.
right,
Abraham says, have we forgotten how to feel good? That feeling good is really, it's the goal to feel good.
yes,
It's it's that love, it's that light. So I love that you said that because the more you practice that, your shift isn't so drastic from feeling so good to down in the pendulum doesn't swing that low. You don't go as far from high to fall all the way down to you know lunatic crazy.
which I was that day, which I was. And you will find me very honest because I think that it's so important as teachers for us to be able to acknowledge, that we are still, all of us, in the process of enlightenment, in the process of becoming more aware and more connected. And what we were just talking about, this consistency, doesn't, in my experience, doesn't come just from meditation and prayer. It doesn't. It comes from how we respond to daily difficulty, because there is so much that is given to us that is difficult and is challenging. And when we're able to respond, we've had to go through this process of becoming conscious of how we are as we walk through the world, which means we're expanding in that place when we're getting more conscious of our actions. We're accepting responsibility for our behavior, and we're observing our behavior. We're not judging our behavior. And in my world, harsh judgment is an opinion about what we're seeing, about what we're observing. So as we learn how to observe our behavior from love, from kindness, which is observation and not opinion, we're expanding there. And as we are able to notice how we move through the world, the next step is we start to choose to shift our frequency. And so then we practice that. And we do that with so many experiences during our day. And so by the time we get to a place where we're able to witness as we be, walk through our world, notice when we're out of alignment, shift it into a more neutral state, we have done so much work that we are consistent. It's not a matter of trying to be consistent in a certain frequency. You can't do all of that work that we're starting out on tonight. You can't do that work without having your frequency raise. You know what it's like, Gino? I always like to equate this work to physical exercise. So if I want to build my biceps as a 69-year-old woman, and I don't pick up the free weights that are sitting across my living room and do my practices, those free weights are just going to sit on the floor. But when I lift them and I move them over and over again in repetitions, and I do it several times a week for several weeks and several months, my tonality starts to shape and I get to see my efforts. Those muscles are there all the time. I just don't see them until I put my attention on them. And when I put my attention on them, they grow. And so it's the same with our frequency. Our frequency, as you said, comes and goes and comes and goes. It's low and high, and we don't have any agency over it until we choose to have agency over it. And so with this work, we're choosing to be aware and conscious of how we be, and we're choosing to be in a state of high vibration as much as we can throughout the day by noticing when we're not in alignment with love and using a practice to shift our vibration. And that's a lot of consciousness, and that's a lot of responsibility. And over time, just the way our muscle grows, so does our frequency shift.
So let me ask you this, because someone did ask, and I shared a little bit that they talked about the difference between frequency and vibration.
Hmm.
And I know that I have used them interchangeably. So there's not like one specific means this or that.
Hmm.
We talked about that process being energy, that it's an energy that we are participating in. Yep.
I would agree, and you and I had talked about this earlier. I'm going to actually look up in the dictionary because for me, frequency is a measure of vibration. But I tend to use those words interchangeably as well. And so I would just ask anybody who's joining us on the program, who's working with us on this, for the sake of the program, use them interchangeably and don't get caught up with the definition. If it's important to you, however, do so. But for me, when I say energy or vibration or frequency, I'm talking about the energy fields within us, and they're either high vibration or they're low. And then, of course, there are people who will come in and they know a lot more about the different levels and they'll go into that. But I think keeping this simple and keeping this easy, I would just use them interchangeably and know that we're talking about the highest frequency, which is love, our soul level, our intuitive body, or the low frequency or vibration of the egoic mind, of the pain body. Yeah.
Beautiful. And also, the word love gets used a lot. And a lot of times people have baggage around that word of love. What
Mhm.
would you say to that? Because sometimes, as I said, love does get, people have had what they call love experiences or love relationships, and there's a lot of baggage with that. And so instead of love being this high frequency of connection with source, it's one that's sometimes for a lot of people much lower level energy. The word itself, how would you speak to someone to help them shift or maybe even replace love with a different word that can connect them into their higher self? It's kind of like people that go to a center or people that go to a church. Some people have had experiences with the church
Mhm.
that it has just totally taken them out of any type of community group together in church. They have spiritual practices, but the word church and what they've experienced has just really taken them on a very uncomfortable journey. So I say that with the word love, that a lot of times people have just a lot of baggage around that word. I hear you and understand what you're saying, but is there possibly another word that we can use that also that people could lean into?
Sure. And I think we can refer to the high energy of love, or we can refer to it as the divine within. We can refer to it as the soul level. We can refer to it as the intuitive body. Um, Within those phrases, once again, there are many manifestations of the soul level of love, of the intuitive body, of the divine within. Patience, kindness, compassion, understanding, tolerance, grace, gratitude. And what we discover, as the Kabbalists say, is that each one of those, and there are many more, have their own frequency vibration. So I think using the overarching terms wherever feels comfortable for people is
Mm.
important. But also with this work, we're going to learn how to go in and really discern what aspect of love do we need.
Mm.
Just like there are many manifestations of fear. People don't realize procrastination is an aspect of fear. When I worked with commercial photographers for 35 years, I was a consultant to photographers all over the world. And I used to bring this work to my photographers and explain to them that they were not taking their portfolios out, they were not selling their work.
Mm.
They would tell me that they were procrastinating, and I'd say, well, that's fear. And we would work with that. So fear has as many faces and manifestations as love: jealousy, coveting, dishonesty,
Mm.
um, being irritable, many procrastinating, lots of manifestations of fear. And so with this work, we get to determine where are we without getting lost in definitions. They're very helpful as we go through the process.
Love that. So, questions, anyone? Questions, comments, thoughts?
I had something, an experience today when you talked about Abraham saying that we've forgotten how to be happy.
Yes.
I was, I, I was, blessed to have a great day today. I started off surfing, and it put me in such a
Mm.
great mood, which is what it always does. That's a practice that's, if not in your book, it might be a great one. Do you need me to go to the
That
microphone?
would be awesome so that
Okay, I'm gonna.
Selena can hear it as well.
Okay, all right.
That would be super awesome. Um,
Okay, can
Thank
you
you.
hear me now?
I can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm
mhm.
gonna start over.
Hi.
Hi.
And who are you?
What?
And your name is, so
Oh,
I
I'm
know who I'm
Scott.
talking to.
I'm
Hey,
Scott.
Scott. Good to meet you.
Hey, you too. Um,
Thank you.
what I was saying was I had started my day today very well. Was blessed to be able to start my day with a surf session, and
Ooh.
it just put me in such a good mood. And when Gino was talking about Abraham saying that we've forgotten how to be happy, I got to witness that today because after I surfed, I did a little spiritual work, and then I went to the gym. And when I went to the gym, I ended up I'm not super thrilled with the music that I get on my streaming service. A little frustrated by that sometimes. So I noticed like my vibe can drop with that. But there was a song came on, and I was like, I'm gonna pull up that whole album, and I pulled up that album, and I just was loving it. So I was at the gym. I had surfed, and then I was listening to this album, and I was having a great workout. I'm looking around. I was in such a good mood. Looking around, I'm just smiling, and I wanted to see smiles on other people's faces. And at the gym, there must have been at least 50 people there. I think I only saw one smile. And I was really disappointed because, people are supposed to be there kind of uplifting themselves, working on, energizing their bodies and this and that. And it just, it was, it really just brought in an awareness of that. Yeah, so many people are just going through this slow vibration experience on such a frequent basis, and I felt grateful that I wasn't one of them at least today. And usually I'm higher vibe, but certainly we all experience. Maybe we don't all, but I certainly experience it from time to time. But it was really it was a letdown to see how much of the people I was surrounded by were they just didn't seem like they had that breath of life within them,
Yeah.
which was sad.
Mm.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And a couple of things come up as you're talking. And one is that, it's very true that so many people are experiencing a lot of difficulty these days. And that's why I think it's so important for those of us that are conscious to do this work, because as we raise our vibration, we raise the vibration in the field of oneness, which helps everyone. And, it's understandable that as you are in a higher vibration, in that moment even, you would want people to join you in that. But that's not the way life usually is. So what's really wonderful, instead of allowing it to lower your vibration, is you might say, isn't that curious? Isn't that curious that as soon as I noticed that other people weren't as happy as I am, my vibration lowered? Isn't that curious? Because what happens is when you allow your vibration to lower because of the collective around you, your vibration's lowered. But if you want to get that back to the higher place or stay there, you use a phrase like, isn't that curious? Because words carry vibration. And isn't that curious is open. It's expansive. It's like, wow, isn't that curious? So 1 minute you're in a place where you're happy or listening to your music. The next second you're noticing, wow, nobody around here is joining me here. And the third next minute your energy dips. And then you want to bring it back up. Instead of staying and allowing your energy to dip, you say, isn't that curious? And you're back in a high vibrational state. And you're not judging them, you're just noticing. And you're being open and expansive as you notice. See where I'm going with this?
I just want to say that my frequency didn't drop, and I did exactly what you're saying. I just observed,
Okay.
and I actually just sent out the good energy, and I kind of like shared my smile with other people, even though they weren't necessarily meeting me there, and
Well, that's
and
it.
it was
That's
great.
it.
I
And
was
that's,
just sharing it. Yeah.
well, that's wonderful. And I'm glad because you would use those words. So that's why I went there. But I think the important thing here is that we have choice at any moment to respond to the energy around us. And so many people do get sucked down by that. So this expansive, like, wouldn't it be nice, and isn't that curious? We're going to go into in more detail in some of our future teachings because these are such accessible tools. I, like Gino, love simple, easy to use practices that in a heartbeat shift our frequency. And so I love the fact that you start your day surfing and music, and music is so transformational, isn't it? I mean, it just shifts our
Yes.
Oh
state
yeah.
so, amazingly. But thank you for that sharing.
Oh,
I
sure
appreciate that.
thing. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Gino, we want to leave everybody with a practice, maybe?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I just want to say to that with energy, because it is so palpable. You know, I'm sure each of us has experienced this thing where we've walked into a room and the energy is either like really low and you're like, ooh, what's going on in here? What happened? Or it's very high. I've had several different ways. Or it's very high, and I'm like, I don't feel like being here. I don't feel like being around these people because my energy isn't there. And I remember a dear friend of mine at the time. We were getting ready to go somewhere, and I came over to her house, and I was excited, and my energy was up. I'd had a really great day, and she was just like in the basement. And at first, trying to, and I didn't understand fully then, but then I was trying to bring her energy up, and that became a fight. That was me trying to create something that wasn't there. We didn't talk about energy, but we fought about everything. It was like, should we take this car? Why we want to take that car? Why do you want? I mean, everything was just off balance. And then I got frustrated because I couldn't understand why this was happening. But, as I grew in my spiritual work, looking back, understand that we were really in two different places. And what ended up is what should have happened in the very beginning. I left. I went on my journey on my own and allowed her to have that space. And even though we had planned like an entire weekend, that was not going to be the case. Not one that was going to be enjoyable for me. And so I think it is a really great thing to I recognize my energy now. I recognize when it's up or down. Most of the time, I try to keep track of it, but not always do I know what to do if it's down. Sometimes I try to just jump into fixing the energy. Let me get happy again. And that doesn't necessarily have to be what the call is. There's an opportunity, as you say. There's an opportunity there that is opening me up to something greater. So yeah, it's really it's a powerful thing to see yourself and feel yourself in such high energy, and then to be in a place that doesn't support that. It you know, if you're not aware, you can easily sink right back in, and there's a part that feels like this is natural. This feels good. This is where I should be because
That's the
everybody else is
conditioning.
there.
Yeah, that's the conditioning. And you've just shared so much in that one story, so much that you've shared. And I think the most important pieces of it that I would love to just point out is the awareness. Awareness is our first step in this work. Choosing to be aware of where we are. This work is not about asking you to be happy, happy, happy all the time.
Right.
It's not. The work is about asking you to become conscious. It's inviting you to take responsibility for how you walk in the world and what vibration you choose to hold. It's asking you to take on the gift of agency of your state. It's providing you with tools that you can utilize to shift your frequency should you choose to, and why would you not want to? So, your story was so beautiful because you came with an understanding and an idea, and when your friend was not in the same frequency, you wanted to shift it, didn't happen, so you
Mm-hmm.
made another choice. So, awareness and choice are what I would ask everybody to sit with until we meet again. I would ask everybody to think about watching how they move through the world and just saying, well, what aspect of my multidimensionality is engaged now? Am I busy in my thinking mind? Is my emotional body charged?
Mm.
Am I really feeling very neutral and open, and my highest knowing is enacted? And just play around with that and have fun with noticing what aspects of you are working at any time. And then I want to share, as we close here, I want to share with you one of many truths that Spirit shared with me, which is that everything that can hurt can heal,
Mm.
and everything that can help can harm. Meaning, there's a time where you could walk into a situation, Gino, and be in a different place with another person energetically, and your high frequency would be infectious, and they would pick up on it, and they would move into that frequency with you. And
Yes.
in this particular case, it didn't happen. So when you walk into that situation, your high vibration is helping. But as you just pointed out to us, if that person is resistant and that's not where you are, where they are rather, then you wanting to shift them isn't helping them at all. So you saw that and you left. So everything that can heal can harm, and everything that
Mm.
can hurt can help, which means that at any given time, different frequencies have different effect. And that's just a truth that opens us up to the fact that there is no one way, that everything always is. And so, however you are now, there is the possibility of shifting. Yeah. So that's what we wanted to share this month.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Selena, what is our title for next month?
It is awareness and consciousness. And we're going to
Awareness
go more
and
deeply, yeah, into what it is. How do we activate it and grow? How does our frequency increase as we direct it towards certain aspects of our life? Why high frequency is meant to be our North Star? And what happens to the ego and thinking mind as our intuitive body, our highest knowing, our soul level, the energy of love, is activated? And then we're also going to go more deeply into the breath. And we're going to do a little more work as we did tonight.
I love it. I love it. Just for people to see again, there's Selina's web page. There's a lot of information on there. You can also pre-order her book that's coming out, Raise Your Frequency, Transform Your Life. Is it released in June or July?
It's the end of June. You can pre-order now, and we'll be
Okay.
sending out the link for that. But you can pre-order that now, and it'll be delivered in June. So that's when it gets
Fantastic.
printed. Yeah.
Also, she does phone calls with people if you want to have a one-on-one session. Just really powerful work. Excuse me. So really looking forward. Looking forward to diving in deeper and experiencing more with frequency. Oh, excuse me. Okay. All right. So, Selina, thank you so much for tonight. This was awesome.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.
We will be here the second Wednesday of every month. Please share with your friends. I think this work is really important for us to shift into a greater awareness of how we're operating throughout our day on a daily basis, which moves us beyond just a morning practice or checking in the afternoon if you do that, or at night, but to really be about recognizing that when you are in the flow of the day, things that you can do to keep your frequency raised, awareness that you can have that can expand your consciousness, and always this opportunity to love ourselves in a deeper and more expanded way. So I hope to see you all next month. And Selina, thank you so much for being here tonight. You are
Such a
absolute treasure. And just before we go, here at oh, look at that. That's fantastic. Here at Universal Spirit Center, we appreciate all that you do. And it is through your divine loving and givingness that we continue this work that we do. So you can tap our QR code, our Venmo, and share 10% of whatever you give to us. We share back out into the global community. So I thank you for being a part of this night. I thank you for being here, and keep vibrating. Keep being aware of the light that you are. Peace and blessings.
It returns to me. It returns to me. It returns to me.
You guys are back from your trip? Yes. How was it?
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love.